Welcome to SikhCast, brought to you by Sikh Research Institute, illuminating every path.
Hello, Guru Fateh. Welcome to the SikhCast. My name is Pritpal Singh. Thank you for being with us. Today's topic is going to be on Sikh history in Afghanistan. And with me, I have Pritpal Singh. Pritpal, Guru Fateh, thanks for being here to talk about this timely topic.
Manpreet, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thanks for having me.
So, Pritpal, it's been a long time since you've been on this podcast. Just so the listeners know who you are, what you do, please reintroduce yourself, and then we'll get into today's topic.
Sure. My name is Pritpal Singh. I'm a physician by training, but my real passion lies in history and education. And so today we're going to discuss Sikh history in Afghanistan.
Great. So, as you know, there was an attack in Kabul on a Sikh Gurdwara, and so that's why we want to discuss Afghanistan today and the tragedy that happened there, and just to get the listeners familiar with why Afghanistan is important to Sikh history, and Sikhs all around the world should pay attention to this. So, Pritpal, let's start. Let's start with the Sikh history. Please take it away.
Yeah, the attack, as you know, it took place several days ago, killed 25 people in the Gurdwara. And then when the cremation was going on the following day, there was another follow-up attack. So we have to look into the history. Why did this happen? This is not the first time. This happened in 2018 as well. And to understand the political ramifications, how it impacts the Sikhs, not just the Sikhs, but also the Hindu community, which is affected in Afghanistan. We need to have a better historical background for this. The Sikh history in Afghanistan really starts with Guru Nanak. Guru Nanak Sahib actually visited Afghanistan as part of one of his udasis. And we know this because there's actually a Gurdwara in Jalalabad, which is a city in eastern Afghanistan. There used to be two there. Actually, there were multiple Gurdwaras in Afghanistan. There were 8 in Kabul. Right now, there's only one that's actually in use. Others have been abandoned. The Sikh population overall, there were about 50,000 Sikhs in 80s and early 90s in Afghanistan. Now we are left with several hundred. Most of them used to live in Jalalabad, Ghazni, Kabul, Kandahar. And depending on where they are in Afghanistan, they spoke different languages. Most common one being Pashto, but some spoke Dari, some spoke Hindiko. Some of them also know a version of Punjabi, but most of them are very well literate in Gurmukhi, so they're able to read Gurbani, recite Gurbani. Most folks were in business and in trade. I'm giving you a recap of what Sikh population was like prior to this exodus in the last 30 years or so. As far as where did it start? It started with Guru Nanak. Guru Nanak stopped there. Guru Nanak interacted with the locals. Actually, before even I start where it started, I would want to know why it's important to study. Why is it important to study the Sikh history in Afghanistan? And the reason is, if you think Guru Nanak is important with Sikhi, it's very important to know Sikh history in Afghanistan, because wherever Guru Nanak went, he inspired people, he connected people. He himself was asked, why do you go on these travels and who's your guru? And he said, my guru is Shabad and I'm traveling to seek the company of Gursikhs. So he met people in Afghanistan. People were transformed by him. after he left, they recorded his teachings, the Shabads, which inspired multiple people. And after Guru Nanak, we have documentations in the later Guru period and post Guru period of the Sikh masses just growing in size and actually contributing to Afghanistan and South Asia culture and commerce.
Wow, that is good to know. I'm sure a lot of listeners didn't know that. So then Guru Nanak, so you're saying Guru Nanak actually visited people and talked to the people of Afghanistan?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is a Gurdwara in Jalalabad. If you talk to the locals, they will very, very passionately talk about how Guru Nanak's message transformed their lives, and how they became better human beings.
So then so he most likely went on one of his udasis there.
Mm-hmm.
And so what else? What else do we know that what gurus did? And how do we know this, by the way?
Well, we know this because we have monuments which are attributed to Guru Nanak. We have a lot of our history is oral history, but we also have written documentation. So we after Guru Nanak, what we find is there's a writing called Mahima Prakash, written around 1776. It's a manuscript written by Sarup Das Palla, who's actually a descendant of our third Nana, Guru Amar Das Padshah. In it, he gives two references. One, it says for Kabul Wali Mai, which means lady from Kabul, and he talks about her doing seva at the stepwell, which is Bali at Goindwal Sahib. So that means he's actually documenting that there was a lady from Kabul, a Sikh woman, who came to Goindwal Sahib, which was a center created by Guru Amar Das Sahib to do seva there. And he also mentions Bibi Pago, who's in charge of the Manji at Kabul. Manji, again, is a system created by Guru Amar Das Padshah about political and religious divisions in or South Asia. And he mentions that the lady who's in charge is Bibi Pago, although I must say, at Gurdwara Haveli Sahib in Goindwal, the inscription that's written there it says Mai Seva. The point here is it doesn't matter if it was two different women or if it was one woman with two different names. Point is, we had one of the imagine 22 states and one of independent states, and one of the ambassadors, actually three of the ambassadors were women. One of them who was a woman in Kabul, which is incredible, because if you think about what women's positions, what they hold in our community today, which would be very different than what Guru Amar Das time, which is 400 years ago. So it's in early 16th century. We have examples of gender equality and equity, which our gurus illustrated in their behavior, in their decision-making process, and our community still fights over these gender issues.
And Guru Amar Das Ji, on purpose, most likely, did appoint a woman because they were fighting the Taliban of that time, no?
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, we talk about the vision of the gurus is just incredible. And especially Guru Amar Das Padshah, the social changes he brought about were incredible. And point is, he gave that position to the most deserved individual, who happens to be a woman. He did not look any background or anything else. And Bibi Pago did that. And Kabul Wali Mai came from Kabul and went to Goindwal Sahib, which is a very long journey. So that tells you that during the times of gurus, there was a lot of commerce, there was a lot of interaction. And part of that is because when Babur came and he conquered Punjab and North India, in 1504, he took over Kabul. In 1526, he took over North India. So basically, Kabul and North India were one under one dynasty, Mughal dynasty, until about 1738, when the Persian ruler Nadir Shah took over. So because they were connected, ruled by one Mughal dynasty, there was a lot of interaction between Afghanistan, India, Punjab. There was a lot of commerce. There was a lot of traveling.
Got it. Wow. And so, what other gurus went there? Did anyone else other than Guru Nanak?
Yes. I do want to make one more reference to Guru Nanak. In Guru Nanak Pasha talks about in his Shabad, which we probably call Babur Vani, that Babur actually came from Khorasan. Khorasan is a large area which encompasses today's Afghanistan, certain parts of Iran, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan. It includes about 6 countries. And then he says he came to Hindustan. So, and after Guru Nanak and Guru Amar Das Pasha's time, then we have Professor Ganda Singh writes that there was a Baba Ganj Baksh, who was an Udasi sadhu, who actually, again, was transformed by the power of the Shabad, the message of the Shabad at the time of Guru Amar Das, and he became a Sikh. And Guru Amar Das Pasha actually made him sort of a leader of that area, and his followers became followers of Ganj Bakshiye. And we know this because there's a Gurdwara in Kabul which commemorates that. So again, we have not just oral history, written documentation, but we have monuments which attribute to the growing of the Sikhs in numbers during Guru period. Another example would be at Guru Arjan's time, when Bhai Gurdas was writing his Vara. Bhai Gurdas actually records the names of 2 Sikhs of Kabul. One is Bhai Rekh Rao and Bhai Panna Malla. Bhai Panna Malla. And these 2 residents of Kabul, again, they are Afghans. They are the natives of the land. They become Sikhs, and they actually looked after the stores of local chief. And Bhai Mani Singh, as most people know, who's one of our great martyrs, jinhane tote karale apne, he writes in his Sikhan di Bhagat Mala, which is written around 1720, that these 2 individuals, and accusations came against them that they were misappropriating funds and the provisions in the shops, and the weighing scale they were using was not accurate. But he says that when investigating occurred, when they checked the weights, they were accurate, and the Guru saved them. So the point is, we have cross-referencing from Bhai Gurdas, and also from Bhai Mani Singh. It talks about the growth of Sikh population in Afghanistan. There's also Gurdwara Pipli Sahib, which is 1.5 miles away from Harmandir Sahib in Amritsar, where history indicates that when the Sangat came from Afghanistan to help build 4 sarovars of Amritsar, Guru Arjan actually went there to meet them. So a Gurdwara was established there. So that tells that there is from the time of Guru Nanak to the time of Guru Arjan, there was an explosion of Sikh population in Afghanistan, especially Kabul. I have many more examples. Are you interested in learning more?
Yeah, please.
So let's look at some non-Sikh references. There's a Persian manuscript called Dabistan-e-Mazahib by a Zoroastrian priest whose name is Zulfikar Ardastani, who actually traveled in Central Asia and came to Punjab and also North India. And he claims that he met, in his writing, he documents he actually met the 6th and 7th Nanaks of Guru Hargobind Patsha and Guru Har Rai Patsha. And in it, he has a chapter on Nanak Panthis. Nanak Panthis, again, Panth means the way, the path. So this is the path of followers of Guru Nanak. He mentions Bhai Saad, who lived near Balkh. Balkh is a city in Afghanistan. And the reason this is important is because he actually talks about Bhai Saad's behavior. And I quote, he says, Bhai Saad is a person who does not become elated by joy and depressed by sorrows. So he's saying essentially that Bhai Saad is a person who's living the life of Sahaj. He's not carried away by emotion. He actually is, as Guru Tegh Bahadur says in his Bani, he's a Gyani. He's not swayed. He's very, grounded in his behavior. So this becomes important because this talks about the behavior of Sikhs, and this one happens to be Bhai Saad from Afghanistan. Another story which actually is with a lot of, I think, Sikhs would know, from a manuscript called Gurbilas Patshahi Chhevi, which is written early 18th century. There's a Bhai Karori, who's a horse dealer in Kabul, who sent 2 horses named Dilbag and Gulbag to Guru Hargobind Patsha. And as he was bringing them, there's Bhai Tara Chand. He sent it with Bhai Tara Chand and Bhai Bhagat Mal, who were Masans from Kabul. They were traveling to give it to Guru Hargobind Patsha in Kiratpur in Punjab. But on the way, Lahore, the Fauzdar of Lahore, he grabbed them from them. And of course, we know that Bhai Bidhi Chand brought them back. And there's a lot of Dharmic Geets which are sung for his bravery. So there's the 18th century manuscript called Mahima Prakash, where Bhai Gonda was sent by Guru Har Rai Patsha to Kabul. So here now you have Guru Har Rai Patsha sending one of his Gursikhs to Kabul to set up a dharamsal. So there could be education center in Kabul for to further the message of Gurbani. Professor Hari Ram Gupta talks about Duni Chand from Kabul, who actually sent an awesome, beautiful, very expensive tent to Guru Gobind Patsha in 1688 or 1689 to hold a darbar. So a lot of references, as I was researching this, it shows that because during this time there were not a lot of attacks, it was both Punjab and Kabul were essentially one. They were controlled by Mughal dynasty, there was a lot of interactions, and the Sikh masses increased in number, and gurus were able to, spread the message of love during that time.
This tells me that the same love and the same inspiration that you get with Gurbani and the gurus, if you're in India or you're in Afghanistan, it's the same. The person is the same. Like it doesn't matter where it was from. The guru touched you, the guru inspired you, and you will rise and give your head for that guru no matter where you're from.
Well, that is the beauty of the guru, because the greatness of the guru is that guru connects you, inspires you, guru connects you, no matter where you're at. And that's why Shabad is so unique, that it talks to an individual on the level the individual can connect to. And that's why the message of the Shabad is timeless. So it doesn't matter if it's Afghanistan, if it doesn't matter if we're sitting in the West, it doesn't matter if it was 500 years ago or now. And it's not coincidence that Guru Nanak Patsha, he attributes that his inspiration, his guru is Shabad itself. So the idea that from Guru Nanak to Guru Gobind Patsha, and then Guru Gobind Patsha giving guruship to Guru Granth and Guru Panth, it comes back to the Shabad. Unless the Shabad is not, if the Shabad is not there, if in a Sikh's life, then that Sikh's life is not worth living. There is no inspiration. So I agree with you, Manpreet. Shabad is very powerful, and it's the power of the Shabad that just brings about the change in the individual. And obviously, if enough individuals do that, it brings about a change in masses.
So let's talk about, the changes that happen in individuals and maybe some famous Afghani Sikhs, and
Sure.
talk about the post-Guru period a little.
So post-Guru period, what happens is, after Aurangzeb, the Mughal dynasty becomes weak, dies out. 1738, there's chaos. Nadir Shah invades and takes over Kabul and runs over, Punjab all the way to Delhi. And every other year there's change of administration. It's very chaotic. And this is the time Sikhs are hunted, and they're constantly best surviving in survival mode. This is where your holocausts occur, Padda Kalukara, Chota Kalukara. And basically from until 1765, Sikhs are in battle. 1765, essentially, Sikhs capture power all over Punjab, and one of the missiles are in control of all over Punjab, basically from everywhere between Delhi to the river, Sindh River, Indus River. And then Ranjit Singh eventually takes over all of Punjab, and then Hari Singh Nalwa actually takes the battle to the Pathans and crosses the river and goes and takes over Peshawar, which totally changes the dynamics. Now Afghanistan, the warlords there, they're actually worried that he's actually going to come and reach Kabul, essentially. So British at the time are gaining power in India, and they have a treaty with Ranjit Singh, and it becomes interesting because at that time, the king of Afghanistan actually wants to have a treaty with Ranjit Singh also. So they, towards the end, get a little soft, because what they both perceive is eventual takeover everything by British. And this is very evident. Sikhs and Afghans have a very brutal history, a lot of wars. But I could find one example where they actually were on the same side, and it's the last Battle of Gujarat in 1849, where it's Sikhs versus the British. And Dost Muhammad, who is sympathetic to the Sikh cause because he sees Punjab is about to be overtaken by British. And he knows if Punjab is going down, Afghanistan is next. So he actually sends some of his mercenaries and some of irregulars to support the Sikhs. But as we know that through the treachery of Dogra brothers, the British are victorious. And then what you have in Afghanistan is the Russia and Britain, they fight over the control, and essentially they establish Afghanistan as a buffer state between the two empires. You want to know some of the famous Sikhs? So the first time I could find Amrit Sanchar took place in Afghanistan was in a city called Lalpur in 1920. There was a Khalsa Diwan Afghanistan organization was created in 1921 because the numbers were increasing of Amritari Sikhs. Akali Kaur Singh gave his support to that. A lot of students of SikhRI would know him. There was a Sikh education conference held in 1933 where Khan Singh Nabha actually went and attended. Ghadar Party in 1915, actually, they formed their government in exile of Hindustan in Kabul because Hindustan, they were outlawed. So there was a government exile in Kabul in 1915. In 1925, Mangal Singh Bedi, who's a descendant of Guru Nanak, he participated in a Loya Jirga, which is the parliament of Afghanistan. And there are multiple folks here. Gyani Nihal Singh Afif, he was born in Bannu, which is a northwest frontier province, which is technically part of Pakistan. So what happened in 1947 was Punjab was partitioned, and most, if not all, Sikhs came over to Indian side, East Punjab. But the folks that were living in Pashtun areas, some of them actually went there. Some of them stayed there, but some of them actually went over to. They didn't want to stay in Pakistan, so they went over to Afghanistan. So the Sikh population actually saw a little bit of bump in Afghanistan after 1947. Again, these are not Punjabi Sikhs; these are Pashtun Sikhs, Pathan Sikhs. And this guy was one of them. He actually taught English, Gurmukhi, and Farsi and translated a lot of Bani into Farsi, actually. That's his probably greatest contribution. And then we have had members of parliament in Afghanistan who are Sikhs. Jai Singh Fani being a social activist and businessman in 1969. And of course, today, in recent history, a lot of folks might have heard of Anarkali Kaur. She is a member of Afghan Independent Human Rights Commission and a former MP who's a very famous Afghan Sikhs.
And we were talking a little about before we got on this podcast, a very famous one from Guru Gobind Singh's time, which I didn't know until you told me.
Yeah, yes. When we have yet to talk about him, probably the most, at least to me, the most famous, the most inspirational, the most poetic Afghan Sikh we have is by Nandlal Goa. He was born in Ghazni, which is in south central Afghanistan. It used to be it's at the heart of Taliban territory. In fact, there are no more Hindus left there. There are no more Sikhs left there now. Only Sikhs left are in Kabul. But he was born in Ghazni to Hindu parents, actually. He became and his father was the chief secretary of the governor of Ghazni, which means he was Amir Munshi. And he was very gifted in poetry, in art and science. And he, after serving his time there, the governor of Ghazni saw his talent and he said, "You need to go to a bigger place." So he sent him to Multan, and there he got by Nandlal actually got married to a Sikh woman, and it is the inspiration he got from her, that the love she showed him with Guru Shabad is what inspired him. Whereas Multan was a big city, but this guy was so talented by Nandlal that even the governor of Multan said, you need to go to Delhi where Aurangzeb is, because your talent needs to be heard by more people than all of South Asia, all of the world. But before going to Delhi, he stopped by Anandpur Sahib. And when he stopped, he never left because he was just so taken. He was and he talks about by Nandlal in his writings, which are mostly in Persian with some Arabic. Some are in Punjabi, but mostly it's Persian, Arabic. And it's really intoxicating. So those of you who want to know what Guru Govind Pacha was like, read his translations. His translations in English are so deadly. I can only imagine how profound they would be in Persian and Arabic. And he talks about the physical beauty of Guru Gobind Sahib. He talks about how one strand of hair of Guru Gobind Sahib is more powerful than the rest of the world. He talks about Kudrat. He talks about how all the Gurus are one in spirit. It is, a lot of them are ghazals, which it's unfortunate most Sikhs don't know Persian. I encourage more people to read his writing. In my opinion, he's the most famous Afghan Sikhs. And he, by the way, stayed with Guru Gobind Sahib until Guru Gobind Pacha's Shahadat, and then he went back to Multan. So those of you who want to be inspired, who are poetry lovers, just Google it and read it. Multiple English translations are available online.
Yeah, it just goes to show you another person from Afghanistan who was inspired, and the source was the Shabad, and met Guru Gobind Singh, just became one of his biggest lovers and one of the few people who are recited in Gurdwara today. So
yeah,
it's very powerful, very powerful.
It's so powerful that Guru Pant has given by Nandlal writings that they can be sung in form of kirtan. There are only two people outside Gurbani. There's only two writings which can be sung in form of kirtan, according to Patigrat Mearada. It's by Gurdas's Vara and by Nandlal's Ghazlan, and they are intoxicating and amazing. To look how it transpired. It's because his wife introduced him to Guru. And when we think of Afghanistan, what comes to mind? It comes to mind guns, terrorism, violence. And here is this guy writing beautiful poetry. So this is what Shabad does. If you connect with the Guru, it inspires you. It brings out these virtues in you that you never knew you had. Or if you had them, you chisel them better towards upliftment of humanity.
No, you're right. You're right. Very well said. And now with the current situation in Afghanistan, what happened? Our hearts go out to everyone. And even while I'm doing this podcast, I'm just thinking, it's the Shabad. These Sikhs were in Gurdwara singing the same Shabads, reciting the same Gurbani that all Sikhs all over the world do. And that is what connects us. That's what makes us emotional, at least me emotional, thinking about it, about what happened there, because they're just the same Guru lovers that we are. And it's so sad. So now, when the current situation, everyone knows. I don't know if you have any updates. I know you kind of mentioned that even during the cremation ceremony, there was attacked. So let's talk about the current situation, and then talk about maybe some solutions, and we'll end the podcast on that.
So the reason, the Sikh, the Afghan Sikh community was thriving, and not just the Sikh, the Afghan Hindu population was thriving as well. Sikhs and Hindus, they go hand in hand in Afghanistan, very close-knit community together as one. And Soviet Union really, what changed the direction was Soviet Union invaded in 1979 and they left in 1989. They installed a puppet communist government. There was civil wars from 1989 to 1996. That's when the exodus starts to happen. People are getting killed left and right. Not just Sikhs, a lot of Afghans also left. Mujahideens came over, and they were encouraged by U.S. to come over and fight against the Soviets. Taliban eventually prevailed in 1996, and then with 9/11, 2001, Taliban went away. But what that did was it created a vacuum, and now you have all these cells, different fractions fighting. The central government is very weak. The Sikhs are we stand out. We are a target. From 50,000 to several hundred are left just in Kabul. So what can be done? Number one thing that needs to be done is we all need to first realize that they're not refugees, these Sikhs. They are natives. They are sons and daughters of Afghanistan land. They belong there. Yes, it's a very difficult time. Perhaps in the short term, they need to be airlifted to the North America, Europe, or India. But even if you look at going to India, those who have come to India, eventually they leave to go elsewhere. But the point is, something needs to be done in the short term. I know there are some charities collecting funds, but reality is there's no charity on the ground there. So I would caution people in donating money to charity unless they know that charity is on the ground. They have infrastructure there. So I would suggest inform yourself better. Number two, the Sikh organizations need to get serious and figure out a plan and not just play lip service to political parties, whether it be North America or Europe or India or in Pakistan also. We need to have a sound plan to get them out of there, because right now it's not the place. They're not safe. And thirdly, don't treat them as refugees. They actually belong there. I mean, look at us, the Punjabi Sikhs who left West Punjab, Pakistan, and we lost everything. I mean, it's been a loss situation for us, because it's one thing after another, genocides after genocides. The reason we are able to survive and persevere is because the Sikhs are connected with the Shabad. So first connect with the Shabad, and then formulate a plan that works for those political arms of Sikh community, and put pressure on the embassies where we have voice in the governments, whether it be the UK, the Canada, India, to have a well thought out plan. That's what needs to be done. Because you're right, these are, even if they're, I'm not just saying this for the Sikhs, but even for the Hindus, wherever there's persecution, because Gurbani is very clear that the divine light lies in everyone and everything, and we need to be cherishing it. So we need to reflect, and we need to come on a community level and a political level to have a well-formulated plan.
No, very well said, Pritpal. I appreciate your time today. I appreciate all the research you did for this podcast and informing the listeners on Afghanistan, the Sikh history, and how we move forward and what we could do now. and how these are native Afghanis and not just people, not refugees, like you said. So really appreciate your time. I'll just give it back to you for some final thoughts.
Lastly, I will just say is that there are a lot of Afghan Sikhs outside living in New Delhi, in Canada, especially in Europe. And I would encourage the audience to talk to them. Talk to Afghan Hindus also. The plight is very similar. Reach out to them. I know on a local level, we have a family here in Dallas, and I reached out to them last night. And all of a sudden, they're not numbers. When you talk to individuals, it helps them. It helps you understand better. And if you really want to do something, there are some efforts being done by Manmeet Singh Pullar Foundation in Canada, the WSO in Canada. There's documentaries out there by Pritpal Singh also. It's called the Twitter handle, the Dutch Sikh. Reach out to them if this really is it's important to you. They would be able to guide you better. If you want to know, read more about this. The Dutch Sikhs, if you want to watch it, the Dutch Sikhs has 2 documentaries available on YouTube. Just Google Afghan Sikhs and Hindus. If you want to read, I would recommend Afghan Sikhs and Hindus, History of 1,000 Years by Inderjeet Singh.
Pritpal, it was a pleasure talking to you. I hope to have you on the podcast soon. Thank you for your time. Appreciate all the research you put into this once again. Thank you. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you for having me, Manpreet. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
You are listening to SikhCast by Sikh Research Institute, illuminating every path.